This is the week. This is game time. It is time to fight for the future of your country. Yes, a lot of people have already voted. Way more have not. They will vote in the next few days. They will all vote by Saturday. We will all find out together whether the polls, the bookies, which have told us that things were very different a few months ago, are about to be very different on Saturday night. Now, you know that I have a very strong, absolute belief that we need to change the government, but I'm not going to lie to you about the reality of where the polls sit right now. If the polls are right and the bookies are right, there is most likely going to be a re-elected government and they could get very close to a majority. But that is just a prediction. Polls have been wrong before, but that doesn't mean that at their heart they are wrong now. The trend has been absolutely clear that something has changed in the past couple of months. My hope is that in the next few days, as we did on the weekend, that people are able to focus on the past 3 years, not the past 3 weeks or the past 3 months. That people will focus on what is at stake and what will happen in the next 3 years. Now, whatever happens on Saturday, we will do what we always do, which is to keep an eye on every little bit of detail. There'll be plenty of people, win, lose or draw for the coalition, who will try to make their conclusions about broadcasts like mine and organisations like the one that I work for. But we do not do what we do, and for the 15 years that I have sat here through multiple prime ministers, winning and losing elections, I don't do the show for anyone other than the people who watch it. The people who come up to me in the street of the smallest country town or stop me at the airports around the country. That'll be our focus, and tomorrow night, a special opportunity to spend an hour with the man who, on the weekend, has an opportunity to become the next Prime Minister of Australia. Peter Dutton will be in the man cave tomorrow night. He will be there for the full hour. There'll be no editorial. It is just as many questions as possible from the people who watch this show and are loyal to this station. Thank you to the many hundreds, nay, probably close to 2,000 people who have sent us emails with questions. We've got people representing all different parts of the country and so many different perspectives. Questions that we hope inform you a little more about the person who you may or may not be casting a vote for, either as a primary vote or as a preference vote in this election. Tomorrow night, 1 hour, Peter Dutton with a new idea. Ask me anything. You've seen these on the internet. Well, it's the first time they've happened on Aussie Telly, and I'm looking forward to the idea of us finding a new way to cover politics, and something that hopefully as a format we'll be able to continue into all sorts of interesting Australians. But we had to start in the week of an election with the man who would like to be the next Prime Minister. Peter Dutton, tomorrow night, 1 hour, live with questions from right around the greatest country in the world. Now, before I do my usual thing where I tell you about what happened today and I show you the nonsense of the media, can we deal with some of the elements of last night's leaders' debate? Now, I thought, as always, these things end up being a little overly complicated, at times a little over the top and a little quirky. And at times they want to dumb things down, and that's fine. Okay, not everyone's following the detail like you and me. Not everyone's listening to Radio National in the morning if they're a lefty, or they're watching programs like mine at night if they are a common sense person of the centre-right. But the question that was asked that seemed to be the moment that Peter Dutton had tripped over himself was, of course, that question about how much is a carton of eggs.
Here is a dozen eggs. Mr. Dutton, do you know how much they cost?
Now, this is always a trick question from people who, I guarantee, needed to research that question first. Most and many of the people who roll their eyes at the different politicians' responses, again, would they know off the top of their head every single item that goes into their shopping basket? Maybe one or two, but I wouldn't imagine the majority, because I've seen these people when they pay for lunch and pay for dinner. They don't check the bill, if you know what I mean. So the idea that this is the question which gives us an insight into whether people understand what it's like in the real world or not, it's a game. And the first person that they ask the question of is the person that they are trying to stump. You'll notice they asked Peter Dutton the question first. Both of them got it wrong, but it was Peter Dutton who got it wrong by a bigger margin, like we were playing a version of The Price is Right, where it was higher or lower rules. The reality is that in the debate last night and in the debate over the past month, there are far more relevant statistics that give us an indication as to what I think people should be making their decisions on when it comes to voting, but it's just not talked about at all because the story is obviously negative for the Prime Minister. Where was the question about how hard it is to pay off a home compared to 3 years ago? Well, again, we went and had a look for this today. Now, your mortgage might be a little higher, a little lower, but here's the average repayments. Before the last election, it was $1,800 a month. At this election, it's now more than $4,000 a month. It's $27,600 that people have had to find each year. So double that number of $27,600, and that's how much extra you have paid in your mortgage under the Albanese government. What do you reckon is the more important question? The price of eggs or the explosion due to interest rates going uppity, up, up, up? 12 interest rate rises. Yes, total effect is 13 and 1 was before the last election and it's down by 1 after this election. And you notice that halfway through this election, Jim Chalmers was trying to pretend that Donald Trump's going to ruin the world, so you might end up with 4 or 5 reductions. Notice that conversation's disappeared? Because the reality is that Australia will probably end up with this high interest rate for much longer than anyone is expecting. Yet amazingly, when you actually go into the opinion polls that our mates at Redbridge do at the start of this campaign, the Liberal Party was winning with people who are paying off a mortgage. It's now Labor who is winning with people with a mortgage. Nothing has changed in how much your mortgage costs. The average person and the average home paying off the average mortgage under this government is $27,600 worse off each year. So double that number, and that's the total for 23 and 24 as we roll into 25. Again, it's one thing to talk about electricity prices, but when you actually compare the numbers, the case against the government becomes clear. When it comes to power bills, the average annual power bill, and I get it, some people are monthly, some people are quarterly, some people have got big houses, small houses, so we've got to try to find a number in the middle. The average was $1,600 before the last election. It's now about $2,000. Now, that is a difference of about $300 a year. But I know my power bill is way higher than $300 extra a year, let alone the people in small business. So that number might frustrate some. But yes, power prices have gone up. Remember, the promise was for them to go down. In fact, the only reason that the power prices don't keep going up is because of this artificial payment of taxpayer money, billions of dollars, which they pay $25 a month to every single power bill in the country. That doesn't mean that the cost of it's going down. It means that somebody else is paying, but the somebody else is still you. Another example about rent here. The average rent before the last election was about $400. Now, again, a lot higher in more populous cities, a lot lower in less populous cities. But now it's $627. So in terms of each week, that's a difference of $151. You start to spread that out over the 52 weeks, the number is a lot bigger than $151. But again, where are people supposed to have found this extra money? Even if you're a public servant working for a union-based job anywhere in the country, your pay rises haven't been enough to cover, what, $27,000 if you're paying off a house, or the thousands of dollars extra when it comes to paying off rent. But of course, they didn't want to ask that question. They didn't want to show those numbers because those numbers don't achieve the gotcha that they wanted to achieve. Now, I get it. As soon as you're complaining about the media, then somehow you are on the losing side. Well, we've been showing you how biased the media is, and I will again today because, again, it was so stark. The Prime Minister gets a cuddle from the people who all hope to get a one-on-one interview with him in the next few days, or to move up the ladder should they be re-elected and their proximity to power gets even closer. And people's proximity to power or thirst for access to power is in many ways what means they either lie by omission or they just look the other way when there are fires as big and burning as this.